guys, Tony here. I'm down in Melbourne at the Audio Active HQ, and I'm here with Burek, who is going to run through this amazing home cinema that they've got here, which is a flagship room worth over $500,000. So thanks for having me over, and we're going to get into the video. So the first thing that we're going to cover off is the room itself. So Burek, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, the dimensions, and what went into the construction?
This room is roughly 5.8 metres wide by a length of about, it's going to be around about 8.5 metres long. We've got tiered seating, so it's fairly high in the front. So we're estimating around about 3.8 metres from the ground to the top of the ceiling. But as we go back into the third set of rows, obviously it gets shorter and shorter. The room has been constructed with a front wall baffle, and we've got about 700mm behind that screen wall. So we've pretty much built a stage, and we've got a full LCR left, centre, right complement of Pro Audio Technology speakers, which is a speaker company from the USA. And it's almost their flagship model, so I'll go into the models a bit later. Fantastic. And then behind the screen, we've also got two 24-inch ported subs as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we've also got a coffered ceiling so you can do lighting.
Correct.
So I guess this showroom is designed in a way to inspire dealers and the consumers as well.
Yeah, so it's when we look at this level of product, it's all about the concept of what a home cinema can be. Now, obviously, there's going to be a whole range of different styles and looks and things like that. So, and that's why we've got, you know, a couple of smaller rooms downstairs just to give an idea, and they look a little bit different as well. But yeah, having that sort of nice lighting effect, as you've known, it can give a really good ambient look to the whole environment.
And we've also got these wall panels and curtains at the front. I imagine these are of acoustic properties as well.
So these are, most of this room is absorption. We do have a little bit of a diffusion up on the ceiling, but most of it's absorption, and it's covered in fabric. And we've got 3 pairs of in-wall surrounds. So we've got 2 surrounds for the front and the back, and then we've got a back surround as well. And then we've got 6 overhead Atmos in-ceiling speakers, all from Pro Audio Technology. And then just flanking the rear, we've got 2 dual 12-inch subwoofers as well.
Excellent. So we've got the 3-tiered seating, and on the riser and also right down to the front, we have different models of chairs. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
We wanted to showcase the whole range of seating that we distribute at Audio Active to all our dealers. So throughout both in this cinema, each row has got a different range of seats. So basically the first 2 rows are done by row 1, which have got a range. I think they've got about 4 or 5 different models in their range. And then the back row, we've got a new launch of DTX. DTX is one of our brands that at the moment we've got theatre chairs, we've got screens, and we've got acoustic panels. We might have a look at those
absolutely.
A bit later.
Yeah, sounds good. So we've also got some lighting and controlling here. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So with the lighting control, that's predominantly going to be powered by Crestron Home. So Crestron is going to control not only our lighting, but all the automation in the room. So basically, you know, we'll have a scene where you just come into the room, and it might be a nice sort of brightly lit room where it's comfortable, everyone can see their seats and things like that. You can go sit down, and then once they're down, it's literally just touch of a button, and we'll have like a play movie. The lights might dim down a little bit, or they might completely go off. Projector turns on, switches to your source input, and off you go.
Right, so we're going to move along to the AV rack, and Burek is going to go through all of the products that we've got powering this room. So take it away, Burek.
Great, thanks Tony. So yeah, in our rack we've got, running the whole show is basically the Storm Audio Evo 20. So this is Storm Audio's full Dante digital preamp processor. This has 20 channels, and literally there's just one Cat6 cable going into a network switch, which is dedicated to the Dante network. And then it's basically feeding all our power amps, which I'll go through in a sec. Source equipment, next below is a Kaleidescape Strata V. So that's their latest release in their media players. That's full 4K, can handle Dolby Vision, Atmos, all the DTSX, all the sort of object-based formats. And then down from that, we've got our trusty old 4K Apple TV, which takes care of all our streaming, Netflix, Disney Plus, etc. Then we've still got a 4K disc backup system, the Sony UB800, I think, from memory. And then down from there, we start to get into all the amplifiers that are driving Pro Audio technology. So the brand is called Theory Design. Theory basically is the sister company Pro Audio. So Theory also do make more consumer grade style and much more lifestyle or smaller speakers that can be used in family rooms and lounge rooms as well as dedicated cinemas. But all their amplifiers are branded Theory. So the first 5 amplifiers are all DLC-1500.4s, as well as having analog input. They've got Dante as well, so the user can choose what type of system they're going to build. The way we've set this up is that each of our LCRs is using 1 amplifier each. So this is a 4-channel amp. It's bridging the 2 12-inch subs for the LCRs at 1500 watts. And then we're feeding 800 watts into the tweeter and 800 watts into the mid-range. So we've got 3 of those doing the LCRs. The next amplifier has been bridged 1500 watts per channel, and that's running the dual 24-inch subs that we've got at the front of the room. And then the last of those 1500 watt units is also running the back of the room with dual 12s. The next lot of amplifiers are all 4-channel power amps. So they're 125 watts per channel times 4. They're running 6 of those are individually running each of our surrounds and surround backs. Those are all tri-amps. So the 8-inch bass drivers on those, again, a bridge. So they're getting 250 watts to the 8-inch bass driver, and then 125 watts going to the tweeter, 125 watts going to the mid-range driver. Last off, the last 2 4-channel power amps, 3 channels of each is running the left and the right Atmos in-ceiling speakers. That's the only speakers that aren't bridged.
Got it.
Yep.
Fantastic, a lot of power in that.
It is. Obviously, it's not all about volume. The advantages of having that sort of headroom is that at any given volume, you've got a much lower noise floor, way lower distortion. So yeah, it can play loud. Having that power on tap just means that we've got way more dynamic range, and we're not running in those lower distortions. As when you use an all-in-one AV receiver, one of the issues is as your room gets larger, when you need to bring the volume up, yeah, you could play it loud, but the problem a lot of people will experience, it'll start to hurt your ears because you're actually hearing the speakers distort, and what tends to happen is it just doesn't sound good and you end up turning it down.
Yep.
When you've got speakers that can have this sort of power on tap, you get to a point where you know it's loud, but it doesn't feel loud and it doesn't hurt your ears, and that just brings that extra enjoyment to the experience. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we get to the speakers, why don't we talk about this beast of a projector, which is the GTZ380 by Sony.
Yeah, this is a bit of a favourite. Everyone's here, and if you've ever seen one, you'll know why, including, I believe, Tony's seen this in action a few different times. But yeah, this Sony is their flagship 4K laser projector, 10,000 lumens, and one of the advantages Sony has over a lot of other projector manufacturers is they're the company that makes the cameras, so literally from production through all film, editing, all the way down to monitoring, and then basically to the end user. So Sony's biggest sort of claim to fame is how accurate colours and just the way an image looks and feels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the image is amazing, I will say that.
Yeah.
Even though I'm personally a bit of a JVC man, I have to appreciate the Sony. This is the beast of a projector.
Yeah, yeah.
So amazing projector,
yeah.
Great picture.
And look, when you look at projectors like this, it is all about just impact. And one of the issues that people have is, particularly in bigger rooms where you're wanting a bigger screen, a lot of projectors that are out there, when you push over about 150-inch diagonal, you really start to see a drop off on light output. So in this room, we're using a 185-inch 239 scope screen. It has a gain of about 1.2, so we're actually getting a good reflectivity off the screen. But still, with this size image, having just that extra light output on tap is just, you know, phenomenal.
Yeah, of course.
So this is the acoustic fabric weave.
Oh, okay.
So this is sort of like their flagship DTX screen. So they've got two different acoustic weave screens. So this is their flagship model. We do have one step down from this. And basically when you look at just the structure of the weave, you can get up real close to this screen and it's very hard to actually see the structure of the weave. Whereas if you look at the one step down from this, as you get closer, you will see a weave pattern. Yep. It's still pretty good. Like I've compared it to other screen surfaces that cost 2-3 times as much, and the weave is actually quite indistinguishable on even the sort of one step down. For someone that really wants a lot more gain, then we can get into the micro perf, so which gives you a lot more light. And so this is great for super large screens, or if you've got a projector that just doesn't have the light output like this does.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Okay, so now we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, and that is the speakers. So why don't you tell us what's behind that giant 185-inch screen?
So basically, as I mentioned before, we've got pro audio technology behind the screen. We've got 3 LCRs. So this is their SR28212A speakers. So they're a full range speaker. They've got dual 12-inch drivers. They have a mid-range, dual mid-range and a tweeter. And so we've got left, center, right. And then next to those, in between both of the speakers, we've got the subwoofers, the 24-inch LC, so it's LFC 24 SMs. So they're a big 24-inch driver in a full ported enclosure. And they're sort of a beast like this. I'll actually give you a photo of me standing next to one on that stage.
Excellent.
So people sort of get a scope for it. It's quite funny, when we first took photos without me standing in it, the 12-inch drivers on the floor standers looked like they were 8s because the 24 was next to them, but they're actually dual 12s. Yep. And so it's only when we took a photo with someone standing next to it, you got a sort of whole sense of the size of the actual speaker drivers.
Yeah. And they sound great. I had some demos last night, and from 5 or 6 meters away, it was just so clear.
Yep.
So yeah, great sound. And then we are moving to the side surrounds.
Yep.
So there's 2 sets, as you said. So it's not in a front wide configuration. It's done
No. So in this room, we had a few challenges in that we did convert this room from an older design. And we sort of made the decision early on when we were going to upgrade it and do a few renovations. We didn't basically want to remove the curtains. And we also didn't want to have the speakers sort of encroaching in the room. So I know there's ways to basically put brackets with angled out.
That's how I've done my room.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where you got to kind of make a decision how you want the room to look. And the decision was made that we weren't going to do that. It's certainly, if we started from scratch, we could have designed it that way so that we could utilize the front wides, but in this instance, we didn't do that. So with the surround and surround backs, we've got the SR2408 IWs. So they're actually an in-wall speaker. They do have an actual box that you can put them in, so they can be wall mounted as well, surface mounted. So they're quite flexible, and in fact, in slightly smaller rooms, you could quite easily use them as front LCRs. We wanted to use a speaker that is quite dynamic. So when you've got all those sort of panning surround effects, they're going to punch hard. And the beauty of having the amplifiers tri-amp them, it just means we're getting the full impact of those speakers.
Excellent. So to complete the ear level, we have those dual 12s at the back? Correct.
So we've got the dual 12-inch drivers. Again, they're a ported design, and so they're going to be using as our rear fill subs. So we've done many, I've done many theatres, and each time you add subwoofers into the room, it's not just about more bass, it's about even bass. Getting that even bass coverage. And I've found for most rooms, like if you've got a smaller room, a good practice is to have 2 subs at least. You know, 1's good, but 2's a lot better. And if possible, I'd always put 1 at the front, 1 at the back. So that way, regardless of where you're sitting in the room, you're just going to get much better bass coverage. But certainly in bigger rooms, 2 at the front, 2 at the back is sort of the sort of go-to sort of standard. Obviously you can do a lot more, and people do, and they're experimenting with way more subwoofers than that, but 4's a good number of subs to cover that. And up in the ceiling, these are the Theory Audio. So I mentioned about their sister company. So this is their speaker called an IC6. It's a 6.5-inch bass driver with a compression tweeter in the middle, and it's got a back box, and it's ported at the front. So these speakers are unbelievably dynamic. These can be used not only in a dedicated cinema, they can be used as a background speaker. In fact, Theory uses a lot of these in commercial applications where they can run these speakers off one of those 4-channel power amps and then just run multiples off them because they're that efficient.
So we're positioned quite well right now to look at this screen which has Kaleidescape on it, and anyone that has been living under a rock will not know, but Kaleidescape has finally come to Australia and Audio Active is the distributor for that. So why don't you tell us about the deal?
Look, we're very honoured to be a part of Kaleidescape and to be their dealer in Australia, distributor. This is an unbelievable product. So anyone that's into movie collection, you know, we get into the habit of concentrating on the hardware so much that sometimes we forget about the source. And source is king. So if you spend a lot of money on your system and then, and I've had this happen, I've sold a lot of systems throughout my years in retail. I found the trend was that people were starting to use streaming devices. Now, I get that. It's really convenient because you don't have to go out to the store, find a movie, buy it. You can just stream it straight away. But people don't realize what they're missing, because as good as streaming looks and sounds, when you actually compare it to Kaleidescape, it's on a whole nother level. The compression alone on streaming, you'd be amazed at how flat everything sounds. Even they might have an Atmos soundtrack. When you compare it to Kaleidescape, the Atmos soundtrack is uncompressed. It basically gives you this dynamic range that you would think it was a completely different soundtrack that's on the movie, and it's because of the compression. So Kaleidescape has partnered with movie studios to basically bring you much higher bit rates and way lower compression than even 4K discs. So this is the premium format for anyone that wants the best quality. And they've just launched a movie store in Australia, so you can basically download the app, you can go on the Kaleidescape store, and you'll see a whole range of movie content. Now, one surprising thing that when we were first looking at this product, I was kind of in the mindset of when you look at the US movie store, you start to see the $29.95 US price. So I was thinking in my mind that when the Australian store came out, we'd do the Australian conversion. We might be paying $40, $45. And look, that's not unheard of when you go and buy a 4K disc. So I wasn't sort of, you know, disappointed, but that's what was in my mind. When they launched the store and we sort of started seeing movies to buy for $19.99 Australian or $29.95, we were all pleasantly surprised. At first, we actually thought it was a mistake. We thought it was in US dollars, but no, we clarified it. It is in Australian dollars.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So guys, I will have links down in the description to where you can check out more about Kaleidescape in Australia, and stay tuned because there will be more information coming over the coming weeks.
Yep.
So guys, that concludes the home theatre tour. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think down in the comments section. I'd like to thank Burek and Audio Active for bringing me down to Melbourne to check out this amazing room. Again guys, let me know what you think down in the comments section, and Burek, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Righto guys, that's it for this one. You'll catch me in the next one. Bye for now.